The following is a presentation of the Belly Up Sports Media Network.
This is Haymaker Combat Sports. Here, coming straight from the source. Only with the real, they ain't here to dress it up. Sweet science, MMA, you can get it all from us. Trust, 5 stars cause it's live. And through the fight game, we can guide ya. Slick talking, putting them in caution. Passing all the goals cause the audio is awesome. What you waiting for? Spread the word, tell a friend. This the podcast where all of the discussion ends. When they start going strike for strike, this the show that'll tell you what you seen in the fight. They ain't playing on the mic, this a welcome to the show. Warm it up for the squad, Haymaker of the bros. I'm a bow wow, you can hear it from the pros. It's Haymaker Combat Sports, time to roll.
Welcome back to Haymaker Combat Sports, powered by the Belly Up Sports Media Network. I am your host, EJ Reed, joined by my fellow host, Steve Johnson. No Admire with us tonight. It's actually his birthday. We're recording on a Tuesday, so happy birthday to Admire. What's going on, Steve?
Seeing this video later. Admire, happy birthday. Doing pretty good. Weekend, a lot going on, of course. Holidays, Mother's Day.
Yep. Well, yeah. Did you do anything interesting on Mother's Day?
Nothing too interesting. Just made food for the wife and my mom, and just had a gathering at my house. What
you make? Because I know you're vegetarian right now, right?
Yeah, I made veggie gyros.
Okay, that's what's up. That's what's up. Well, you know, my mom lives in a different state, so I talked to her, and my girlfriend, she's out of town on vacation, and she has a son, so I didn't get to see her on Mother's Day either. So I just pretty much just chilled. Mm-hmm. But I did do something interesting this past weekend, and we'll get into that. I guess we could just get into that right now. This past weekend, we had a fight night card, and it was in our home state of Missouri. It was actually in St. Louis, Missouri. And I actually had the privilege of going to this card. And before we actually get into the fights, talk a little bit about my experience. You know, parking down there is not the best. I mean, they have some garages around there, but like if you go to some areas, some arenas have like big parking lots for their arenas. So I had to do parking, but once I got situated with my parking spot, I was able to get into the arena pretty easily and bought me a little bit of souvenir. I got me a shirt out there. Also, the prices of everything are just sky high nowadays, man. The drink prices were outrageous. It was like $12 for like a little seltzer. So I don't know what's going on with these prices. I don't know if you noticed that too, just prices in general.
Oh my goodness. For like a can of seltzer?
It was like $13.
Wow. That's I ain't never seen a can of seltzer cost 13 or 12. But I can see it, man. All these prices are going up, even over here in Missouri, so-called where you can state where you can live well.
Exactly. But I don't know. Something's got to give. Maybe not. Maybe prices just keep going up, but they better increase wages too, or people won't be able to survive out here if prices keep going up. But
or entertain themselves.
Yeah, exactly. But I digress. I don't want to go too much off on the tangent. But yeah, I got me a couple of drinks, even with those prices, just because I was sitting around there. I got there for the early prelims before the first fight kicked off, so I wanted to get my bang for my buck. And one thing that I've been doing recently, when I've been going to these shows, I've been kind of playing chicken with like buying my ticket last minute, because a lot of times the ticket prices will drop if you wait till like the day of. And my gamble didn't work this time. I still got a pretty good price, like, because I'm like, if I'm not paying over $200 to go to this, and I was still able to get under $200 barely. But so earlier in the day, like around 10 a.m., I went on the app and I saw ticket prices, like really good seats for like, they weren't bad at all. They were like a little over 100, like they were like 120, and it was like row four in the lower bowl section, like row D, which is like I guess the fourth row. I'm like, I just got greedy. I'm like, let me let me try to get something lower than this. And then I went back and they were gone. And so I'm like, man, I should have just stopped trying to press my luck and just taking them. So I was able to get seats down. They were still lower bowl level, but they were a little bit higher. But sometimes you play those games, you win stupid prizes. And I played around and let that ticket go, but whatever, I still had pretty good seats. So, but yeah, I mean, as far as sitting down, or before I get to that, like both of us are single, but let me say, like, there are a lot of women in there dressed to the nines in there. Let me say that. I'm not gonna go too much off on that, but
they dress to impress.
Yeah, they were acting
for
like
a UFC event.
Yeah, I you know what? I think it is because Missouri, they don't get a lot of fights around here, especially on that level, like a UFC, a professional league on that level. So it's not Vegas. So like I saw women in there like in their gowns, like they're going to like a Tyson fight in Vegas, like with their dress gowns on. I'm like, okay, do you, girl?
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, people were the women were dressed up. The guys, still UFC, so they had like the equivalent of the 2024 version of Affliction on, like those type of guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
backwards hat.
Yeah, those type of guys. And then I was sitting in front of a row of kids. They couldn't be over 18 or the 20. I mean, I guess they're cool, man, but like I don't want to be too mean, but like I just kept getting a whiff of something. Like one of the kids had dreads. I'm like, you ever smell like sour dreads?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah. I just kept getting a whiff of that the whole fight. I'm like, man, I'm glad you enjoying the fight, kid, but I don't know, man. You work in the hair industry. I don't know how you get rid of
that. There's one easy way: wash your hair.
Yes.
Hey, I swear to God, some people don't take soap and scrub their head. They just dump water on it. That's it. It takes more than that.
He had long dreads, so like he shouldn't be afraid of it unlocking. I don't know why you wouldn't be able to just wash your dreads, I guess.
Well, considering that you're saying it smells, I would say that he shouldn't worry about it, like you said, unlocking. Because I mean, if it's smelling, I'm pretty sure his locks are unlocked. And but like I said, if he does have his hair locked, it wouldn't smell because you just got it done. So therefore, like to me, doing my let's say professional barber hair investigation, you don't wash his ass.
that's probably what it is, man. Because like, I smelled that smell before off of dreads where you just like I don't think they're washing it like that.
Oh yeah, that can trap smell in it, and who knows if he's a smoker or not, or what, his house smells like that. It can you ever been outside of, you ever known somebody's home and then walked out and then they carry that smell with them everywhere they went?
Yeah,
he could be probably one of those. Yeah.
I've had houses that smell like, not I haven't, I've been inside of people's houses that just have that aroma. It's hard to smell. It's not like BO. I can't describe it's almost like a sour smell almost.
Yeah.
Like people's houses that just carry that scent. Like, and then you just can't smell it at, you get smell blind at that point and you can't smell it yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Especially if you go to a friend's house, you smell it. If you stay in there for 5-10 minutes, you will be immune to it, which scares me.
Yeah, that's why I like. I'm a clean person. I clean up, so I'm like, I wonder what people think when they come in here. So I usually keep like the candles and the air freshener just to make sure I'm coming correct when people come over here.
Yeah,
but I digress. Like I said, I just kept getting a whiff of the kid in front of me the whole fight, so that was interesting. And then it was some kids behind me that they were like comment on anything. You never been around people like they know a little bit, but like they say wrong stuff, but you kind of turn around. Like it was kids, like these kids probably like in their early 20s too. I couldn't really see them, but I could hear them. They were just saying fight information that wasn't necessarily right and asking
yeah.
questions that you think like a MMA fan would know, and it was interesting.
And then they might trick somebody that might be naive about the sport and make them
Yeah.
think they know it all, which I'll be shaking. I was like, man, you lucky I'm not in your group. I might, I'll call that out.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what happened. I can't think of exactly what they were saying off the top of my head. But then come to find out, like it was probably like halfway in the car, they weren't even sitting in their seats. Like they were sitting in somebody else's seats.
Yeah.
So I'm like, good. And I'm like, good. And then the people that replaced them were not as vocal as them. I'm like, guess it all played out how it should have.
Yeah.
So, but besides that, I didn't see any fights in the crowd or anything. You know, it was a pretty good experience overall as far as the ambiance and the experience going there. One thing I did notice is, and I've noticed this at the past UFC fight I've went to. It was last year at Kansas City. I don't know if they do this for in Vegas in the pay-per-views, but like they have in all four corners at the top of the arena, they have four sections that are completely not occupied because they got this big ass projector type screen. It's definitely over like 200 inches, but they have it in all four corners. And I was thinking about it. I'm like, they could be selling out these seats in this section that they have this big projectors. Like, why do you have it? Because the people on top, they can see the jumbotron that's in the middle of the arena, and then us on the bottom could see that as well. So I'm like, why do they have this? And then the light bulb clicked in my head. I'm like, they have it for the fighters after the fight because they're like, take a look up at the screen when you're at home. When they're saying, take a look at the screen, that's what they're looking at. Those big projectors. I'm like, I feel like y'all could like figure out a better method than to be taping off seats that they could be selling for make more money. You think, but that's like the only sole reason I see them having those big projectors up there like that is because when they say take a look at the screen, that's the only screen that the fighters could look at because the jumbotron is directly above them. They can't see that.
Right.
But
I guess cutting money costs. I guess that, I mean, me trying to look at it linearly, I would think that would probably save money projecting instead of getting a whole digital system or something like that to show the fighters, a screen or something.
True, but I feel like I said, like it's four corners just with nobody in it. So I feel like if you added all four corners up, I would say that's probably.
You think it'll about to the equipment they have?
I don't know about that, but I'm saying it'd probably be around 500 seats you're probably cutting off. And if you keep like, if that'll add up, like it probably would be like more than the equipment that you'd have to, like some type of equipment that you would have to do for the fighters to look at.
Right.
If you keep selling.
You think that was a temporary stadium situation, or do they do that in all those stadiums?
They did it in Kansas City too. When I was in Kansas City. So I think I was wondering if they do it in Vegas too, because that's like, the one they go to the most recurring in T-Mobile. Like for Conor McGregor fight, I feel like you would want to fill up every seat and make as much money as you had for a Conor fight. So.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
My homeboy, he went to Izzy fight in Vegas, so maybe I'll ask him how the setup was. But yeah, that was just
it's just like the spear will solve this.
Yeah, the spear will definitely solve that because it's just like an amphitheater basically. They don't have like seating all around it, so that'll be interesting when they run that in September. No tickets for that are gonna be ridiculous. Just because it's the first one, I bet it's gonna be the resale. If you don't get a ticket like off of face value, then you out of luck. Those tickets are probably selling for like 5 figures. But yeah, maybe it'd probably be 4 figures, but still, that's still ridiculous. But yeah, that's my observations of my experience actually being at the fight. But let's get into this actual card that happened. Like I said earlier, it went down in St. Louis, right up the street from us. And to kick this one off, we had Veronica Hardy defeating JJ Aldrich's woman flyweight. I forgot that Veronica Hardy was married to Dan Hardy because she's from Venezuela. I'm like, that's not a Venezuelan last name. But also,
Dan Hardy, British Dan Hardy.
yeah, he used to fight in the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
She's a lot younger than him, so I don't know if Dan Hardy's the Drake of MMA, preying on them young women.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was also in the prelim where Veronica Hardy defeating JJ Aldrich in the women's flyweight, and then we had the hometown guy. He got a lot of love. Charles Johnson defeating Jake Hadley in the flyweight division by unanimous decision. Welterweight division, we had Trey Waters defeating Billy Goff by unanimous decision. Women's strawweight, we had Tabitha Ricci defeating Keisha Pennington by split decision, and then lightweight, we had Esteban Rebovics defeating Terrence McKinney by KO head kick. And then to wrap this one up, we had Chase Hooper defeating Vivaslav Borishev by submission. Did you get a chance to look at any of these fights?
I didn't get to see the bottom half prelims. I would have liked to see Terrence McKinney, but you know.
Did you see the Chase Hooper fight?
No, and I know he's one of those young prospects that they, at the time, was trying to push forward as a young fighter, but I think he, probably some years ago, he ended up losing, but I see that he got a win. So, but I didn't get to see it.
So my observation with the prelims, that Trey Waters fight, that was a good one, especially the first and third round. It was a back and forth, like slugfest. So hats off to them. His win over Billy Goff. Rebovics, he sent Terrence McKinney into the shadow round. It was nasty, especially seeing it in person. He just threw that head kick at him, and McKinney was just slumped over like he was sitting at a school desk or something, just up beside the cage. So that was definitely a highlight reel finish. And like I said, it was nice seeing it in the person. And there was some controversy over the Chase Hooper when he got the submission, but Borshev, he was complaining that he didn't tap out. And when you go back and look at it, he didn't tap out. Like, I don't know where the ref saw him. He had his hand, like, he did have his hand positioned weirdly. Now, whenever you get the chance to go back and look at it, but it wasn't a tap, but they still have it as Chase Hooper victory. So I don't know what can you do in these situations when a ref does a mistake like that.
Who's the ref? What?
I can't recall off the top of my head who the ref was. But yeah, so I don't know. Like, what would you be able to do to fix something like this?
It sucks because I don't know the rules about. And once they go to the replay, they have to start a fight.
It was Keith Peterson.
Yeah, I was about to ask you because I saw something online, didn't click on it, to where like they're saying Keith Peterson needs to be investigated. So I guess now that you say that, that's what they were talking about.
Wasn't he smelling like cigarettes according to
Dominic
Cruz?
Beer and cigarettes. That's what Dominic Cruz said.
I don't know. Now he's definitely getting a reputation. I didn't realize it was Keith Peterson.
Yeah. But yeah, it's crazy. And I don't know why to keep something going that is right there and still within time to look at somebody if they tapped or not, and then keep the thing going. But I guess they want to keep the fight natural as possible, and then if it is interrupted, it's too much of a conflict. So I guess they don't keep the fight going. I guess a ref is an ultimate decision of if they finish the fight and say stop, you can't keep it going. I think that's what the conflict is in the ultimate rule. Once a ref says stop, no matter what, the fight is over. They can't restart it. From looking back to past fights, they never did restart it, to my recall.
Yeah, that's a tricky situation. I think common sense would say if he didn't tap, then the fight should continue. That's what the replay system is for. But then I don't know if it would be fair to the guy that got the win. It's just a sticky situation, but I don't know. I don't feel like it would be that much of a inconvenience if they just continue to fight. So they have to go back and look at that, because if I'm somebody that's in training camp and I put my all into this fight and then something like that happened, y'all better pay me my win money too, which probably won't happen because from what I'm seeing, nothing has been overturned. But it's tricky, man, because when you're grappling, like you're trying to do everything you can to get out of that position, and it's questionable. It could have been one tap, but it should be a rule where you have to tap at least 3 times for it to be a tap. I know that's a slippery slope to go down because you could tap once and then you could pass out or something, and then that's dangerous if the ref doesn't stop it. But you should be able to use your common sense and your good judgment to see whether somebody's tapping or not. And yeah, that was definitely not a good call on Keith Peterson's end. And I don't know. If he keeps getting complaints, you think they should go back and review him as a referee?
I think so. Especially that are ones that are too close to blatant. I can't remember too many altercations he had as far as with fighters that he, of course, Dominic Cruz, and this one, but I can't think of anywhere to where like they condemned him too hard. And it's crazy to where like the UFC fans, true fans, might have a true opinion on refs, but it gets mixed up with casual fans to where like, how in the heck did Herbie Dean get a bad rap? Which he may does bad calls once in a while, but wasn't he one of our best refs? And then I think bad rep comes from for Herb is because I don't know, maybe casuals don't even know the lore of what's a good ref in the UFC, but Keith Peterson, I guess maybe this is an incident where we have to have our eyes on him from now on.
Yeah, I mean, then they cut Mario Yamasaki from the. I know Dana White used to shit on him for like the heart hands. Like, you just busy doing the heart hands and not actually refereeing.
Yeah,
he's not with UFC, so they definitely don't have a problem with booting people. I don't know. I definitely think they should maybe put him on some type of probation or something. Maybe not necessarily from this situation, but if it keeps continuing, that should be on the table or some type of probation or something like that. If he keeps doing questionable calls like that, but I guess we'll see what happens with that moving forward. But let's jump into the main card. The curtain jerker for this one, at heavyweight, we had Waldo Cortez Acosta defeating Robelis de Spain by unanimous decision. So this fight did not go down like I thought it was going to be, because, when you have the heavyweights, you think, it's big boys, so you think it's going to be over in a hurry. But Spain came out with his hands down, and he's a big boy. He's like 6'5". Just an odd stance. Like, he's from, where is he from?
Cuba.
He's from Cuba. That's what I was going to say. He had his hands down like Anderson Silva, but they're not even from the same country. So maybe he had influence, but I didn't like how he came, the stance that he came out. And he got taken down right away by Cortez Acosta. But that first round, Acosta didn't really do anything with the takedown. And I guess you could credit the Spain's defense in that regard. But in the second round, that's when the bomb started flying, but no guy really landed a big shot. And then Acosta got the takedown about halfway through the round. And this time he got some good ground and pound. And then in that third round, not a whole lot going on at first, but the Spain caught Acosta with that front kick that landed pretty flush, but Acosta ate it and got him on the ground again. and finished off the fight with some pretty decent ground and pound, and was able to get the victory. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, for what it was an all right fight. Like you said, it wasn't to what I thought it would be. I think Despain definitely needs to work on his takedown defense or ground game. I think he relies on his stand up to and strength and how tall he is. You know, I think if you have striking, just work totally into the grappling, which we saw that he had a problem with Acosta. Put it on him, which I think cost him the fight. I think Despain needs to go back to the drawing board because I think he's promising. But I'll tell you one thing I don't like about Despain, and he needs to go to a striking camp. He needs to stop sticking his head up and looking for those shots, trying to catch him at the end of it because he's the tall fighter. So he wants somebody to throw and just graze him to where he comes back, which his past 2 fights been like that. You know, that's how he got his knockout his first fight. And I think that was his style this time, to where this opponent, I mean, they're all heavyweights, but let him somebody that has a little bit of athletic size on him and, you know, catch him once. He's going to get caught. Definitely if he doesn't switch that, because he was getting caught in this one. Just, you know, let somebody get him flush.
And what do you think about his stance in general with it, his hands down like that?
He may get away with it, maybe because how so tall he is, but I don't think he can. Yeah, I don't think he has the athleticism as far as footwork and, you know, wittiness as a Cyril Gahn.
Yeah, definitely not.
And if he gets into the level of those strikers, he will get caught, I think. Although he has a little bit striking, but he has that scary striking. But that's basically infringing all offense with no defense, which I think he has.
And you would think somebody tall like that would be athletic, but he just looked a little bit slower than the other guy. Like, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that aspect of it? He didn't look that athletic, actually. He just looked like he had the size.
You're right. Not athletic, just had the size, and as a big boy can make a difference with a kick, his size, you know. And has a few one-trick ponies. You know, like the backup swinging hook, the swing hook, or the looking for that straight, which mostly I think he was throwing that. And he had a little flurry moments as far as combinations, but for his size and how he was hitting the dude his size, you would think he would have knocked the dude out, but
yeah, you'd think so, but like you said, he probably just needs to kind of go back to the drawing board and get into some type of striking camp, right?
And I think maybe the way he swings, maybe not forward, but definitely backwards. I think his first fight he got away with it, but you keep on fighting like that, you won't be able to transfer that energy as far as not keeping his feet on the ground the way he backs up and swings. You know, I honestly believe he's going to get caught one day if he keeps that style.
I think so too. I mean, he's a young. Well, he's not that young actually. He's my age. I was gonna say he's a young kid. So, yeah. I mean, heavyweight. That's an old division, so it's not like the clock is ticking. But I mean, 35. The clock is kind of ticking, so he needs to do something quickly. Matter of fact, we're not even a whole month apart in age. So yeah, I thought he was in his 20s because he hadn't been in the UFC for that long. It's only his second fight in the UFC, but you know, so he hasn't been pro that long. His first pro fight was in 2022. That goes to I don't know if that's saying that he's that talented or the heavyweight division is not that deep. If he was fighting in Titan FC less than 2 years ago, that's crazy. And that was only his 6th pro fight in general. So he has a black belt in Taekwondo. Okay, so he has combat sports experience. So he was an Olympian for Cuba with Taekwondo. So that's probably why he's fast track. So I don't know. Except for both of us said he probably needs to go back to have some type of striking class. So I guess we're saying, I don't know if you agree, I don't want to put words in your mouth, that he needs to adapt to do MMA style type striking. He just can't rely on doing Taekwondo style, maybe.
Definitely. He looked novice in some areas, especially on the ground, trying to put full intentions at the moment on and I think out of panicking on a neck hold while you're on the bottom, while dude's in side guard. That tells me that you're panicking. You don't know how to get out of certain positions of the ground.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely you gotta the grapple. He's probably way behind in the grappling department since he's won a bronze medal in the Taekwondo department. But really, yeah, we'll see how they move him along the division next. But let's talk about this next fight in the featherweight division. We had the hometown guy, Sean Woodson, defeating a guy that you enjoy, Alex Caceres, Bruce Leroy, by unanimous decision. And that first round, it was pretty much a sparring match. With about 50 seconds left, Bruce Leroy hit Woodson in the nuts on accident. And then it looked like a light sparring session to close out the round. Woodson cracked Bruce Leroy pretty good in the beginning of the second round, but Bruce Leroy fired back with some good shots later on in that round. And it's pretty much a sparring match for the rest of the round. And I feel like nobody really pulled ahead to distinguish themselves as like a winner of that round, in my opinion. And then round 3, both guys were pretty active, trading back and forth, but neither guy really could land that game-changing kick or punch. And I thought it was a pretty much even fight all around, but the judges didn't agree with me, and they gave the nod to Sean Woodson. So what were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I definitely think Woodson definitely had a good go in the beginning rounds and maybe the first of the second, but you started seeing Caceres gaining momentum. And that's where you say I could see where it could have been a draw, or because Caceres was starting to figure him out and get on, starting to get him and catch him offside of the angles, stepping off the side and spinning a lot, and was catching him. And I don't think Woodson knew how to handle that, which I think at a certain point, which Caceres is a veteran, ran out of tricks. And that's where we see where Woodson is at as far as skill. Kind of sucks because Caceres is, I think, is a UFC hidden gem. And who knows where his, I don't know what as far as career, but he is number 15. So what he will, if he'll be still in the UFC, or if there's even talks. Because I know after you get out of 15, they start wanting not to get you that, promote you as much, or either let you go. So hopefully Caceres can stay into UFC because he brings the fight every time.
Yeah, and I think he was ranked. I'm not sure, so everybody listening, don't quote me on this. I think he was ranked going into the fight, but I'm looking at the rankings now, and I don't see him in there. So, like you said, hopefully they don't punish him too much for losing a pretty close fight, in my opinion. You think it might have been some hometown cooking as far as, because every state has a different athletic commission. You think the Missouri judges may have favored Charles Woodson because he was a hometown kid?
Most definitely.
Maybe not even consciously, maybe subconsciously.
Oh yeah, I think so.
Man, who'd you think won the fight?
Caceres was having small troubles, but I literally think he was gaining big momentum. Was figuring it out by the third round, and was catching him more than Woodson was catching him. I could have gained it to Caceres, but like I said, these fighters don't put enough urgency when you don't know. So I can really throw that up as a coin toss.
And this is where, like, I know a lot of people don't like to hear this, and of course, judges don't swing it. This is a time where I wouldn't have been mad if it was called a draw, but it's got to be a lot of factors into that. Usually, the way I think most draws happen is if one judge calls it one way, the other judge calls it the other way, and then the third judge calls it a draw. I think it's rare to have all three judges call it a draw. I like to actually go look those statistics up to see how many times that's happened.
Right.
Or if two judges call it a draw and one judge calls it something else, then that's a draw as well. That's probably a rarity, but yeah, yeah. Like you said, I like watching Alex Caceres fight, and I'm hoping they have another fun fight lined up for him if that's what he wants to keep doing, because losing that fight and that's part of your career, if you're trying to still seek a title shot, that's pretty much the nail in the coffin, right?
Mm-hmm.
So,
most definitely.
Yeah, but at this point, like I said, he's been around since the Kimbo Backyard Fights days, so hopefully they can still find some fun fights for him to do. But let's talk about this next fight. In the lightweight division, we had a veteran, Carlos Diego Ferreira, defeating Mateusz Rombesky by TKO in the third round. And round one, Rombesky came out throwing heavy, and he was the one that was pressing the action. Then with about 2 minutes left, he dropped Ferreira with a right hook, but Ferreira did enough to survive. So I thought Ferreira was out of there. I'm like, man, it's not looking good for him. And then round two, Rombesky got the takedown early, but Diego was able to get back up. And then for the majority, when they were standing up, I thought Diego landed the harder shots. Then with about a minute left in that second round, Rombesky got the takedown, but Diego was able to get back up and get a takedown on his own, and then he threatened to get that arm triangle to finish off the round. And then in that third round, it was all Ferreira. He was just lighting him up on the feet. Then with about 3 minutes left, Rombesky got the takedown, but Ferreira was able to reverse it and got some good ground and pound. And then when they both got back on the feet, Ferreira landed the heavy shots, got the takedown, and was able to finish with ground and pound. So this was a pretty good back and forth fight. What were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, like you said, Ferreira was in trouble. Rebecca, he was all in his face and giving it to him, catching Ferreira. But I think I saw also online, and I don't know if it's exaggeration because of the channel, but I think they said one of the worst facial injuries he received, I guess, that fight.
Oh,
like
yeah. Both his eyes were like closed. It was bad.
Mm-hmm. So that was unexpected if you're seeing the beginnings of the fight and how much but that tells you MMA, man, can turn. It can matter how much you have in the tank, and you can be winning with straight damage and pull out for what do you call it, man? I hate it when names slip my mind when I right when I was gonna say it.
Yeah.
Darren Elkins.
Yeah.
I think was his name.
Was that
Came from depths and won.
Yeah.
So congratulations to Ferreira.
Yeah, that was another fun one watching in person. So Ferreira's a wily veteran, so I'm sure at this at this point in his career, he could call his shots on what kind of fights he wants to take next because clock is ticking in his career, and it's not like he's gonna get a title shot. So he's 39. So hopefully they just keep giving him fun fights and see where he can go from there. But let's talk about this next fight in the light heavyweight division. Carlos Ulberg defeating Alonzo Menefiel by KO. This fight did not last long. Menefiel rushed in super aggressive. Ulberg clipped him with a short left. Menefiel got back up. Ulberg finished him with a big left hand, and it was over from there. Good night, Irene. What were your thoughts on this one?
It's crazy because I was rooting for Minefield as far as getting his wins up, and for him to just getting taken out just for charging in. I guess he was gonna bulldoze him, but Ulberg obviously has accuracy and starched him easily. I know he was disappointed. I guess it's back to the drawing board for Minefield and Ulberg. Let's see what his history is.
What is you said his winning streak?
Yeah, he's been on a good winning streak.
He's on that was 6 in a row for him.
So yep, and his last Nuchuo, his last loss. So he's got a good streak, and Minefield should have known should have been a little bit more strategic. I guess he thought he can get a freebie tackle, but at least 12 seconds, was it? Third?
Yep. It's like the third or fourth fastest in light heavyweight division.
Man, I hate to be the person to be receiving end of a accolade.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Starts in 12 seconds, but you live and you learn.
So this light heavyweight division is still kind of living in the ghost of John Jones' shadow, even though Pierre is kind of like getting it out of that shadow and it's kind of wide open. So what do you see Oberg's projection now that he got this win? That was a big win.
Yeah, it was. I think he should be if not who knows? I have to look at the rankings, but
Menefiel went down from number 11 to number 13, and Ulberg took his spot. Ulberg wasn't ranked at all. Now he's number 11.
Okay, yeah. I say throw him up in there with a 10 or 8, in between 10 or an 8.
Well, now that you said that, some guy who just came off a big win himself, but looks like he's trying to shoot up higher than, and he doesn't want to fight lower people. Anthony Smith just won. He's number 10.
That's a good one.
I don't know. Anthony Smith, he was talking about trying to get a title shot, one more in a title shot. He might just have higher aspirations than what will actually happen. I wouldn't mind seeing those two go at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because he thinks he's 2 fights away from it, I don't think that's the case. Even though he hasn't faced Pereira, faced like a guy like Ulberg, and then if you could beat like a Roundtree type person, maybe then you maybe try to get in the title situation. But
and he received a loss from Roundtree, didn't he? As far as Anthony Smith, or you're talking about?
He did. No, I'm talking about Smith. He did.
Okay.
He did lose the Roundtree. I'm saying a Roundtree type person in that type of spot, like in the top like 8 to 6. But Smith's been around. He fought a lot of those guys. So I don't know. I think he'd have to have a little bit of luck to be back in title contention. But I like how Ulberg looked, even though it lasted 12 seconds, we didn't really get to see what he could really do. But he shot into the rankings, so it's definitely going to be interesting to see who they give him next. Now that he's knocking on that top 10, he's right outside the top 10. So it was fun seeing that in person. I'll say that. But let's talk about the co-main event in this one. Another hometown guy, Joaquin Buckley defeating Nursultan Ruzaboyev in the welterweight division. The welterweight division by unanimous decision. That was a mouthful. And 2 minutes in that first round, Buckley got a big takedown, but really didn't do anything with it. And then they got back to the feet, and Ruzaboyev hurt Buckley, but Buckley got another big takedown, and they finished the rest of the round off on their feet, even though nobody really did anything to finish it off. But round two, nobody was able to get the upper hand on the feet early on, but Buckley got 2 takedowns and was able to control it on the ground. In round 3, Buckley did he get dropped? If I'm not mistaken, I may be getting it wrong. Or did no? He got the takedown. He got the takedowns in round 3, and but Ruzaboyev was able to
ended up on the ground on his back. Is what
Yeah.
you're talking about? I think he went for a triangle and it didn't work.
Okay, because my notes are looking a little sloppy right now, but Ruzaboyev was able to reverse it and got a little bit of ground and pound, but Buckley was able to reverse it again and get some ground and pound, and then you saw that weird part around where Ruzaboyev was trying to do those kicks from the bottom, and it was, if he would have landed, it would have been illegal. And I think they stopped it for a little bit, if I'm not remembering wrongly. But yeah, after they resumed the action, with about 20 seconds left, it was kind of anticlimactic after that. Those illegal kicks kind of like messed up the flow of the fight, but Buckley was able to get it a win. And what were your thoughts on this one?
If I recall, I think it even happened earlier in the fight, and like Buckley was dodging it.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, damn, he's. I try to recall if he was on his knees. I'm like, damn, he's kind of aiming for his face.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think he grazed him with one, which caught my attention. I was like, whoa, someone wanted Buckley to win. And but definitely he was doing those hat kicks, and not only to the head, but I guess there's commenters were saying the back of the spine, which was a good point. I guess you're not supposed to directly attack the spine, which that's what heel kicks would be.
Mm-hmm.
What he was doing, which he was tagging his back. Joaquin Buckley, he did a good job. I love his style and what he brings, because I don't think anybody fights like that.
No, not really. No,
Mike Tyson,
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing I don't like about it is he comes in, but he comes in with intentions of countering and nothingness hooks of intimidation, and rather than trying to put it on his jaw. It's like more of waiting for openings instead of pressing the fight. And I know that sounds like a contradiction, because he does go in there. I just want to be more pressure with that style that he uses. And I think even more opportunities might open up for him based off his sheer physicality in welterweight. I think we have another better than a Tyron Woodley on action, right?
Mm-hmm.
But somebody of athleticism with Tyron Woodley, just don't be gun shy.
Yeah, man, we've seen what he's had in the past. He had that kick that went viral, the kick that they still show to this day, that highlight reel back kick that was during the pandemic. So I think he's definitely has more killer instinct than Tyron Woodley. But a lot of people kind of remember Tyron Woodley towards the tail end of his welterweight run. He was knocking people out early on in his run, Tyron Woodley.
Mm-hmm.
People don't remember that, but I'm with you. I mean, they're both St. Louis boys, right? So
yeah,
maybe that's the easy comparison to make. But what do you see Buckley going from here? Because after this fight, no movement for him in the rankings. He's still ranked at number 11, And if you go and look at the rankings, two people he's already fought before are ranked behind him. At 15, Kevin Holland knocked him out. And then Luque, who Buckley beat. So who would you like to see him get matched up against? Because other than those two, he hasn't faced anybody in the top 15 outside of those two.
I think he's ready for somebody of a gatekeeping status.
So Mr. Gatekeeping status himself is ranked behind him, Neil Magny at number 12.
That'd be a good fight. Definitely would be a good fight. Neil Magny and man, that'd be. I'm trying to think of the style clashes right now. I think that would be a crazy fight and would force a lot of what we're asking about right now.
Yeah. So Magny just came off of that win against Mike Malott. I think he kind of came. I think he came from behind in that fight too. I think he may have been losing that fight, and then he came back and got the win. So this happened in January. So
I'm thinking of Jeff Neal. My bad.
Yeah.
You said what's his name?
I like the him and Neil Magny matchup.
Yeah.
Jeff Neal may have something lined up. I don't know. Neil Magny doesn't though. So if you want to make that fight happen in the fall, maybe at the Spear.
Yeah, that would be a good matchup. I can definitely see that. It wouldn't be so much of a threat of I don't think both sides is takedown, and we'll be able to see some striking too. So I don't think it's too much of a dominance on both sides as far as seeing a good fight. Not too much of a boring matchup, so to speak.
Yeah. And Jeff Neal just came off that loss against Ian Machado Gary. This was back in February. So you could match Buckley up with either one of these guys in the fall if you want to. Because Jeff Neal is ranked ahead of him. Jeff Neal is ranked at number 10, right ahead of him. He's like Buckley's literally smack in the middle between both of them as far as rankings. Jeff Neal is number 10 and Neil Magny is number 12. So I think they could go either way with that one if that's what they want to do next. I wouldn't be mad at seeing either one.
Yeah.
But it was a good seeing the hometown kid get a win. Like the crowd was going crazy for him the whole fight. So he ran out in the crowd, was hugging the WWE wrestler Randy Orton. So that clip went viral. So yeah, so shouts out to Joaquin Buckley for getting the fight in his hometown. But that takes us to the main event of this one. In the heavyweight division, we had Derek the Black Beast Lewis defeating Rodrigo Nascimento by TKO. So I'm surprised that Lewis wanted to engage in the grappling, especially so early. And he got a quick takedown, but Nascimento was able to get back and then eventually get the takedown on Lewis later on in the first round. And that's pretty much how that round closed out. But Lewis was able to reverse it and then finish the round on top. So shouts out to Lewis for doing that. And then round two, Lewis kept wanting to engage in that clinch and got but Nascimento was able to get the takedown and finish off the round with ground and pound. But it wasn't like nothing too damaging. But then in round three, that's when business started to pick up. Lewis landed that big overhand right, and then got him out there with ground and pound, and then proceeded to do Derek Lewis things to get that crowd going. So what were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think he tried to, psychological games in the cage. Let me get him down real quick just to let him know, don't even mess with me in the grappling. What you do was persistent and still, got his takedowns later on in the fight. But we're seeing that, I think, not even to survive where these fighters are now. I think he knows that he's going to have to incorporate a few trips, takedowns to even preserve his stand up for later in the fight. And I think he's for at least where Derek Lewis hasn't done it most of his career, is at least budging his skill points, so to speak, like MMA combat sports game. He's letting his skill bracket open up a little bit, for takedowns. And I think as we've seen, that's what he was doing. And, for somebody who doesn't look at it, can, throw up a lot of athletic kicks, scissor kicks and stuff like that. So I would like to see him get somebody hurt or KO off of him one day.
That'd be interesting. He always tries to throw him, but he's never really landed anything.
Yeah. It's almost like he used it. There's a few times he threw him up there to gain respect, but I think his opponent's like, man, you can't get that leg up there 4 more times, so they don't worry about it. But yeah, I think Derek Lewis, what would his ranking be? I would just like to know just what is his goal as a heavyweight fighter.
He went up 2 spots after this, so he went from 12 to 10. So he's top 10, back in the top 10.
Okay, he's back to relevancy. Because I know if you stay in that top 10, they definitely promote you. So that's good.
Go ahead.
What were you about to say?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, and I was also about to say, so it's good he got a win after his loss to Almeida. But all this declothing after a fight, as far as like with the cup and shit, he might as well. Well, you get crazy products, ball shampoo, or something, or ball soap. He's taking his clothes off out of the ring all the time. His cup. You better be doing some promoting on some type of.
Yeah, so you went ahead and beat me to it. So after the fight, he takes his shorts off again. I guess it's gonna be his signature thing that he does. And he was covering the crowd. And this time he mooned the crowd. So,
oh man, I must have missed that.
Yeah, he mooned the crowd. He mooned the crowd. So, what do you think about his antics? You think he's now just being like a caricature of himself, or you just think he's just being himself and being in the moment? What do you think about his antics nowadays?
I think that, and knowing that he's really not. I don't know him, but it seems like he's coming off like he doesn't really care about a spot as a contender. I think he it's funny, but I don't know if you ever had in your athletic career as young, as far as high school, whatever, have you ever had friends or somebody that was athletic and actually achieved some athletic status of a position or whatever? And you're like, damn, man, I actually have to do something. Or I actually got to be in the spotlight. I can't be in the cut. I think that's what Derek Lewis is. You just want to get some fights, make money, and don't want to be in that top 5.
I mean, I think he has no choice but to do that at this point, because he's not getting a title shot. And he's faced like everybody in the top 10. The only one that he hasn't lost to is somebody beat Curtis Blades at number 4. I don't know if Curtis Blades would want to run that back, though, being ranked so high. he has to face Stipe, but that fight is definitely not happening.
Yeah.
We know it's probably one and done for Stipe whenever he comes back. But yeah, like what do you do with Derek Lewis at this point? You said, I guess, just fun fights and just being a good gatekeeper because he literally faced everybody in the top 10.
Mm-hmm. I think that until better opportunity opens up for him or for somebody who wants to think it's a good challenge to get a name off him. Because although, Derek Lewis, his record's not consistent, I think in MMA it's more of can you pass this guy with a special techniques, and I guess he's just that one person to where you beat him, it means something, no matter what his rank is.
Okay, so I'll name 3 people who are ranked ahead of him, and I'm gonna see if you think any of these would be. Well, I was gonna say you think any of these guys would take a rematch, being ranked ahead of them, just to get their get back on them. So you got Martin Tybura, who Derek Lewis knocked out back in 2018. You got Alexander Volkov. Tiberius ranked number 8. I don't know if I said that, but I'll say it again if I didn't. And then you have Alexander Volkov at number 5, who we all remember that fight. This is the Balls Was Hot fight where he knocked him out last seconds, actually, at third round. That was at UFC 229. And then you have Curtis Blades, who Derek Lewis knocked out back in 2021 at a fight night, in which they main evented. So do you see which one? So I'll say first, which one would you like to see him rematch out of those 3? And you think any of those guys would actually take a rematch against Lewis?
Man, that's just like a hard question because Derek Lewis was losing with Volkov and pulled out a Hail Mary. Who knows if Volkov has confidence that he wants to do that again, which I think most likely is the person with confidence to fight Derek Lewis would be him.
Yeah, he was winning that fight until that point.
Yeah. Curtis, I would say he would have more second thoughts and then Tabora. I'm trying to picture that fight if it was easy for him or not.
It was a long time ago. So
yeah, but I would say 1, 2, 3 on that. Volkov, Curtis Blades, and then Tabora.
So, yeah, with that, and that was a late knockout for Lewis as well in that Tabora fight. Halfway through the fight when he knocked him out. I think the easiest fight would be if Volkov took the fight. I think he would have easiest time with him. For some reason, see the interesting thing about Derek Lewis is for some reason when he goes against these wrestlers, he's able to knock them out. Like it's been a couple that have been able to figure it out, but for some reason he's has good enough takedown where he can fend them off and knock them out. Sometimes it seems like he loses more to strikers than he does the people that try to wrestle him, which is ironic.
Yeah, definitely. I think what was it? The Cormier was a submission for him, right? And
yeah, he was a wrestler that actually took advantage of it.
Yeah, I more remember of him, ducking his head losses, TK losses, and more of anything on the ground. So you may be right. You're definitely right about that. He ducks his head all the time, and the ref calls the fight.
Yeah. So some other big losses: Mark Hunt, that's a striker, got knocked out. JDS, that's a striker. He lost, knocked out. Ciro Gane, striker, knocked out. Tai Tuivasa, a striker, knocked him out. Sergey Pavlovich, another striker, knocked him out. So his losses are more so the strikers than it is the wrestlers.
So it's like we had it wrong. Well, I had it wrong. Maybe you want him to fight a wrestler. Gosh,
Sometimes
odds might be better.
Yeah, he lost to Almeida, who's like a ground heavy, and Cormier. But outside of those his big losses have been the strikers.
Yeah.
Go figure. But it was definitely a fun fight to attend in person. I think Missouri exhausted all their UFC options, so it may be a while because they just had one last year in Kansas City and this one in St. Louis. So I enjoyed my time there. But we got a soundbite from Dana White after the fight in a press conference. He's saying that towards the end of the year, they're gonna pretty much get rid of the Apex in Las Vegas, and they're gonna take these fight nights completely on the road. I don't know if it's set in stone, but that's what he said that they're trending towards. So, what are your thoughts on that?
That well, all these fight nights happen at the Apex?
No. Of course, during the pandemic, that's when the Apex was so it was already around, but that's when they started hosting fights there during the pandemic. And each year, the amount of fight nights they've been taking on the road have been increasing back to how it was before the pandemic. I can't remember the exact statistics, but I think it was like a handful in 2021, and it bumped up in 2022, and in 2023 it bumped back up, and 2024 is going to be increased. So they're starting to finally phase the Apex out.
Well, that's good because I guess that's a smaller venue, right?
Oh yeah, it only can hold like 100 fans in there.
Yeah, get rid of it because I think the fans watching as far as a stadium or a night-sized venue actually adds to the intensity of the fighters.
Yeah, I agree with that. But the overhead cost is cheap if you're looking at it from like a shareholder standpoint. If they could just stay there for some of the fights, they don't have to worry about traveling and hiring a road crew, and they just have the stuff there. So I get why they would want to stay there. And then like some fight fans, hardcore fight fans, they're like, I love the acoustics of the Apex. You can hear the punches and fans like that. But
yeah,
all the fighters are like, we would like to fight in front of crowds, and like we do all this training. You want to get that love from the fans. So I'm definitely with them going back on the road full time. But I thought about an idea in my head, kind of like a happy medium. Like I'm surprised they hadn't tried to like build their like a mini arena out there where the Apex is at on their headquarters. Like have like build an arena that's like 5,000 people, so you could just have a home base there, build like a parking lot out there. Have people are always traveling to Vegas. If you had like a 5,000 seat arena you build out there on your property in the Apex, you don't have to worry about traveling and anything. I doubt that would happen, but I feel like that would be like a happy medium to do.
Definitely.
But
yeah, you said now that you say it, the striking and hearing them. I remember what was it? Gilbert, one of the first fights.
Was it Melendez?
Yeah. Or Gilbert
Burns.
When the pandemic, whatever happened. And first time hearing strikes in an arena. It's cool with everything, but you know, I always like a crowd, and it was a good experience. But back to the regular stuff, you know, as far as a crowd.
Yeah, definitely. So I think they're going forward with it in the future. So more crowds, like that's better for the fan experience overall. So we'll be on the lookout for that in the future. But that'll take us to the end of the show. There's a big boxing match this weekend. We have Tyson Fury and Usyk, so we'll be back to have a boxing show for the listeners for that. But that'll do it for us here at Haymaker Combat Sports. Be sure to follow us on all the social medias, and be sure to subscribe on Spotify and Apple if you haven't already. But until next time, be safe out there. Later.
Peace.
Hit the takedown, ground and pound, that was from the top. Heel hooking on one platter, leave you in the knot. Pound for pound, been the greatest. Sitting on the top, man, I'm laughing at the fools.